the true Pogue. People talk about this a lot. I don't know why I think this is significant, but I'm always proud of the true Pogue. I'm the person that came up with that for whatever reason. But it's nice because it actually it means that people are aware of what is or isn't a true Pogue. Today, I want to start working on a true Pogue restoration. This is a 6139 6005 true Pogue, the real deal, completely original. This is, and it's beautiful. I mean, just cosmetically, the dial is gorgeous. These watches, they change over time because they have certain components of them are made of what Brian Sindler calls a fleeing medium. Like the indicator rings fade, and you can get changes in sort of how the dials look and how the hands look. But this one is it's lovely. It's got this beautiful white lume, and the case is really clean. It's a nice watch. It's a nice watch. And yes, the indicator ring's a little faded, but overall it's very attractive. So we're going to rip this one down. It's one of the first models. The 6139 is the first one that I really started focusing on because nobody else would really work on them. And so I wasn't really satisfied to try and find somebody who could do the job for me, and I decided I was going to do the job myself. This is quite some time ago. And so I got a whole bunch of 6139 movements a long time ago, and I ripped them down and built them again. Ripped them down and built them. I was doing, I don't know, 3 or 4 a week. Of just because I had in those days you could get the movements for not very much, and I would just go through them and go through them and go through them, following the service guides and working with my tutor until I got to the point that I was able to really do this well for myself, and then things took off. But a lot of people have a lot of interest in the 6139, so let's rip one apart and you yourself can see what's in it, okay? So I'm going to do that. There it is. That is a 6139 B movement, completely in pieces. Well, mostly in pieces. I didn't pull the balance off the balance bridge. That's just, typically that's not necessary unless I need to do some repair to the hairspring if it's not laying flat, or I need to do some other tweaking, but typically I'm not going to go there unless there's a problem. Now, one of the things I always look for in these vintage watches, as always, as I say, is white lume. White lume tells us a lot of things. It tells us, because it turns black in the presence of moisture, or gray, it'll tell us if water has ever gotten in. If we look at the overall condition of the watch, you know, the fact that it's got the bracelet and everything else like that, that we can tell that the watch was never really abused. Interestingly, I can also tell you that the watch was serviced. And interestingly, I don't think it was serviced by Seiko, but whoever did it did a very good job, because it had the lubrication that was left that I could see was all correct, and it was in the right place. The way I could tell that it was not serviced by a Seiko person, this little teeny tiny gear right here. This is the intermediary gear that goes right here on that post, and it communicates between the winding pinion and the hour wheel, which is right here. I'm sorry, the minute wheel, which is right there. And it has 2 ways it can go. It has a fully flat side, and it has another side with kind of an oil cup. It doesn't make any difference functionally which side is up, but the oil cup is supposed to go up because you can reach it through a hole in this plate right over here, and you can lubricate it without disassembling the movement. So and this one, it was upside down. It had the flat side up, and that usually tells me that whoever was working on this wasn't like, not that they weren't familiar with Seiko, but that it was just, it's an easy thing to get wrong. And it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't make any difference to the watch, but it's just one of those things. I see that and I say, okay. So my theory is one person owned this watch and they took good care of it. They had it serviced at least once. They never abused it. It was never beaten. You can see most of the movement, all of the movement parts extremely clean, very bright. There isn't even a whole lot of that black crap inside the mainspring. I mean, it's dirty, but it's not filthy. Sometimes I see these and they are filthy. This is all nice and bright. I tested the, this is always the special moment is when you pull the, darn it, would you get off of there? When you pull the chronograph wheel, and you test it to make sure that the clutch is working properly. Now I have a tool that I used, that I built to test this. It's something Seiko specified, and I made a tool to do that. But the easy way to do it, because this is all going to go through an ultrasonic anyway, is I just gently grab it, just like this, and I put a little bit of friction pressure on it, and I just see if the wheel section will still, basically if the clutch will hold. This is the clutch is holding, so that is a good piece. I'm also going to visually inspect it, and I will use my the other tester. Basically, it's like a section of the locking levers, unlocking levers, operating levers, to see if the clutch opens and closes nicely and if the center section wheel spins nicely. But we'll go through and look at it. But this is there it is. There's the whole thing. Just what a piece of magic. I think this rebuild is going to go really well because it's in such good condition. Oh, another sign that this was worked on by somebody who wasn't a Seiko person, probably couldn't get original Seiko parts. These button springs, they're wrong. These are not Seiko. These are some kind of weird generic. I can use these. They're too long. They're the right diameter and the right pitch. I'll probably snip off these extra ends because having it be too long like this makes the button action too stiff. So I'll have to modify those, but they're not correct. They're generics, and that's something you also see from old school watchsmiths, is they would get generics in if they couldn't get the original Seiko part themselves. I don't know. That's it. Pretty straightforward. I mean, this watch had so little miles, relatively speaking. I don't even know that I'm going to need to put a mainspring arbor jewel in here because it looks really clean. And if I don't have to if I don't have to do a repair, then I'm not going to. I mean, don't fix what isn't broken. And so far, nothing's broken. Okay, so that's part one, and then we will see if that works for putting it back together, see if I can show you how that's done, if I can figure it out, and that's it. So thank you for watching part one, and we'll go on to part two.